Thousands of Armenians have streamed out of Nagorno-Karabakh after the Azerbaijani military reclaimed full control of the disputed region. While Azerbaijan has pledged to respect the rights of ethnic Armenians in the region, many fear reprisals. Well, with me now in the studio is the Armenian ambassador to the UK, Varuzhan Nersesyan. Very good to have you here. Thank you for joining us. Just let's talk about the numbers first of all. What is the latest on how many refugees do you think are streaming across the border back into Armenia?
Well, thank you very much for this interview. At this point, the numbers we're getting from Armenia is about that 5,000 people have already arrived to the Republic of Armenia. But I just talked to friends in Nagorno-Karabakh, and I understand there are long queues of cars. You know, people are afraid that the situation will exacerbate again, and they are. It seems there is a threat of a mass exodus of the population in the wake of Azerbaijan's large-scale aggression several days ago against the people in Nagorno-Karabakh.
There are those who will say, why didn't Armenia step in after these attacks on Tuesday? Why haven't you done more to protect the Armenians in this area?
Well, Armenia has done always its utmost, but Armenia has been advocating strongly for peace and conducting negotiations and demonstrating maximum flexibility. This latest attack has been designed meticulously by Azerbaijan to engage and involve Armenia in this large-scale provocation so that Azerbaijan would have yet another pretext to attack Armenia. Unfortunately, after the devastating war of 2020, the situation has dramatically changed, and there were Russian peacekeepers deployed in the region. And Azerbaijan, in a strange move, has declared that Russian peacekeepers were informed well in advance about this attack, which they cynically have called counter-terrorism operation, but an operation against whom? Get 120,000 women, children, and elderly, to call it as an anti-terrorist operation. So what's happening on the ground is a result of 9 months-long brutal and inhuman blockade of Nagorno-Karabakh that has culminated into this attack. This is explicit and implicit ethnic cleansing in progress. And if the international community doesn't intervene decisively, in the next days or so, we're going to witness a mass exodus from, of the indigenous Armenian population from their ancestral land. Unfortunately, the world is witnessing yet another genocide in progress.
There have been protests on the streets, though, calling for your Prime Minister, Nikol Pashinyan, to go. Has he abandoned the people of Nagorno-Karabakh?
No, he's not abandoned the people of Nagorno-Karabakh, and Armenia has not abandoned the people of Nagorno-Karabakh. Armenia is a democratic country, as different from, a dictatorship in the neighborhood. And people have the freedom to express their rights as long as they do this within the in strict observance of Armenian legislation. Those voices are heard. I mean, the people in Armenia are not indifferent towards the destiny, understandably, of the situation, unfolding in front of our eyes. That we have seen mass atrocities by Azerbaijanis. 200 people have been killed, 400 people have been, wounded, and the scores, these are not final scores. And that's why there is this, moods in Armenia. So the government is if those demonstrations are within observance of legislation, of course, Armenian government is always in favor of dialogue, we would like to resolve those matters as soon as possible in the terms of dialogue.
But you're talking about these large numbers coming across the border and what is actually happening in there, which sounds terrifying. Do you think this could be the end of Armenians in Nagorno-Karabakh? And if so, this has happened, on your Prime Minister's watch?
That's why we have been advocating for more than 9 months for the fact-finding mission, dispatching United Nations and other international organizations or the international media. It's a question why Azerbaijan doesn't allow, and Russian peacekeepers, they don't allow the presence of international media on the ground. Why Sky News, for instance, or BBC or CNN, they do not have access to Nagorno-Karabakh? This is simply designed to conceal the ethnic cleansing and the ongoing genocide of the Armenians in Nagorno-Karabakh. Only one thing can stop. My Foreign Minister of Armenia, Arat Mirzoyan, at the United Nations Security Council called upon for the UN fact-finding and peacekeeping operation on the ground. Only such an international presence can prevent and preempt the mass exodus. Armenians need a protection. Azerbaijan has shown its aggressive attitude, and this so-called policy of reintegration is nothing but a legitimizing the last remnants of this policy of ethnic cleansing. Azerbaijan has shown a policy of hatred and hate speech and hate conduct towards the Armenian. How you imagine the Armenian population of Nagorno-Karabakh is going to stay there? And that's why we're seeing, these scores of people and, caravans of people now departing for Armenia. This is what Azerbaijan has been dreaming for, the Armenians to leave. Before the collapse of the Soviet Union, there were 500,000 Armenians residing in Soviet Azerbaijan. How many Armenians live today in Azerbaijan? None. And the last, beacon of the Armenian civilization in Nagorno-Karabakh is under threat. Armenian cultural and religious monuments have been systematically exterminated and eradicated and desecrated. And now the next is about Nagorno-Karabakh. There is still one chance that the world community, international community, stands for human rights and the protection of the people of Nagorno-Karabakh. There is still a chance to rescue if the international community wakes up from this situation.
Okay. Varuzhan Nersesyan, the Armenian ambassador, very good to talk to you. Thank you for coming in.
And I thank you very much for this interview.